loved my parents and I was actively trying to murder my sister. I have a friend who I think is great, and her mother is a complete piece of work. I have another friend who is awesome and did everything right as far as I can see, and let me say, neither one of her kids is really much of a prize. But I do take the point. When someone is family, I am more willing to work on loving them. I'm more willing to forgive mistakes, more willing to call actions mistakes and forgive them, as opposed to sort of intentional attacks or whatever. The way the underlying Greek is written, and apparently the underlying Greek is a hot mess, so that made the English translation hard to read, and it makes everything else more difficult. But the group that is supposed to be loved is members of the church. And while that may seem a little small for our assignment to love everyone and love our neighbors, I also think that if we get good at loving a church family, we get good at loving everyone else. Because just like our families of origin, our church families are the ones who can drive us crazier than anyone else. The community that the letters of John were written to was one that was being persecuted and was tearing itself apart. They were being ejected from the Jewish community to form their own worship circle, and then within that circle there are people who believe that Jesus is fully human and fully divine, and those who believe that Jesus only put on humanity like a coat. The divine aspect of Jesus entered him at his baptism, and it left him when he died on the cross. Because why would God suffer like that? That portion of the community was big on the water and the blood argument. That was what that phrase referred to. Now, the part of the community the letter is written to is the part that said Jesus was fully human and fully divine from the very first moment to the very last. God was raised as a toddler in a busy family. God was baptized by a cousin in the River Jordan. God was crucified and killed. God lived and died through Jesus Christ. When we talk about conquering the world, look at what happened. The world did its worst to Jesus, hounding him, slandering him, branding him a heretic and a friend of sinners. It judged and crucified and buried him. It did everything humanly possible to eliminate him. And it failed. It utterly failed. If we believe that Jesus is the Son of God, then we have with us always Christ the victor, to make us victorious. Because he shares our life and we share his. The water and the blood matter, not because they were an on-ramp and an off-ramp for the divine in this world, but because they bind us together with Jesus in our lives and in his. We are a family in part because the more deeply we are connected with him, the more deeply we are connected with each other and all the other people who follow Jesus. Now we're going to be working on the purpose statement for our church in the next little while for this little corner of Jesus' family tree, and some of you will probably be a little frustrated or will want to do something a little different. So please speak up and let us know. And please get out some extra servings of love too. Because if we can get better at putting our love for our church family, including Jesus, into words, we can get better at sharing the essence of what this little corner of Jesus' family is up to. And it will be easier for folks to understand why they want to be part of a group that gets together on a Sunday morning and reads 2,000-year-old letters to each other and still finds new messages in them that make it easier to love the unlovable, including ourselves. And there's singing and snacks, which is always a bonus in my family.